So the title of the sermon today is The Little Drummer Boy. The Little Drummer Boy. My favorite version of The Little Drummer Boy used to be by this band called Whiteheart. You guys probably have never even heard Whiteheart, but they were kind of a Christian rock band, and it had quite a rock ballad with this incredible guitar part and whatnot, and it was great. But now my favorite version is the For King Country version. It's phenomenal. It's worth the price of admission for a concert ticket just to hear them perform that song. It's amazing. But this sermon today is going to be divided into two parts. The first is based off this song and includes the concept from a sermon I preached in March of 2023 called What Do You Have? And the second part will be based on the importance of one. So the first one is, what do you have? So Little Drummer Boy history. The Little Drummer Boy is a fictitious character. It's not in the Bible. It's not one of the shepherds. It's not one of the wise men. It's completely fictitious. It was written by an American composer, Catherine Davis, in 1941. It was first recorded in 1951 by the Austrian Trapp family. And in 1957, the song was recorded with an altered arrangement by Jack Halloran for his Jack Halloran Singers on their Dot Records album, Christmas Is A-Comin'. The song was further popularized by 1958 recording by the Harry Simeon Chorale. And the song was originally titled Carol of the Drum, which makes sense. And so it's interesting if you think about the lyrics to this. I'm not going to read all the parumpa-pum-pums. You guys, I think, can figure that out. But it says, "Come, they told me, a newborn king to see. Our finest gifts we bring to lay before the king. So to honor him when we come. Little baby, I am a poor boy too. I have no gift to bring that's fit to give a king. Shall I play for you on my drum?" Mary nodded. The ox and the lamb kept time. I played my drum for him. I played my best for him. Then he smiled at me. Me and my drum. Me and my drum. Me and my drum. So the song opens. The drummer boy narrates, and basically it sounds like, okay, the Magi are recruiting him, like, hey, come with our journey. Come to see Jesus. And so then he goes with them, and he's like, all right, let's do this. Let's go see Jesus. And they're like, okay, we got our finest gifts to bring to him. And the drummer boy comes along, and all of a sudden is like, I'm poor. I've got nothing. I've got this drum. I could play, I guess. And it says, should I play for you? And Mary nods her approval. Most people are like, okay, why would a young mom of a newborn baby probably wouldn't want to hear lots of drumming, right? At that time, they'd be like, shh, don't no drum. But maybe this is one of those times where the baby had been screaming for like 2 hours straight, and you're just like, all right, come on, please, anything, just like, maybe I'll just distract. I don't know about the theology about that. Do you ever wonder, like, okay, what was Jesus like as a baby? Did Jesus scream? Did he have fits? Anybody ever think thoughts like that and wonder, like, it doesn't really say in the Bible, okay, did Jesus, was he like, hey, I want to be fed, I want, all the stuff? I don't know. There's not answers in there. But it's interesting how, so then the drummer boy plays his best, and then Jesus smiles. And so we play it for him. We play our best for him, declaring that we are small, we are weak, that he doesn't need us in the least, but that with all that we are, with every little speck of nothing that we have, we're giving it to him. So what did he have? He had a drum. That's all he had. Well, but you think about that, what did individuals have in the Bible? You look at David, 1 Samuel 17:40. David took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. He had what? A slingshot. That's all David had. He had a slingshot. And God used it for him to defeat Goliath. He just had a slingshot. It's like, okay, what do you have? What do you have? David didn't question and say, like, oh, this is all I got. He's like, all right, God, this is enough. This and you, that's enough. Look at Moses. Moses had a staff. In Exodus 4:1-4, it says, Moses answered, what if they do not believe me or listen to me and say, the Lord did not appear to you? Then the Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? A staff, he replied. The Lord said, throw it on the ground. Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake, and he ran from it. Then the Lord said to him, reach out your hand and take it by the tail. Moses reached out and took hold of the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. This, said the Lord, is so that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. All he had was a staff. You know, so many times we're like, God, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. God says, what do you have? What do you have? You know, I mean, have you ever asked God, have you ever had God say that to you? Like, where you're complaining and saying, God, I don't have enough. I don't have what I need. I can't make a difference. I've got nothing. And, you know, sometimes God's like, you feel like he's slapping you across the face and saying, quit whining and complaining about what, like, I created you. I didn't create you in a bad way. I created you. I'm God. So quit complaining about the gift I've given you as far as your life. Quit complaining about who I made you. Because I made you the way I did. And it's amazing. And it's beautiful. So quit complaining about it and saying bad things about yourself. Because I think you're awesome. It's like, all right, God. All right, stop. You know, but sometimes I think that, because sometimes we need that kick in the butt, don't we? Because sometimes it's very easy for us to get down on ourselves and to be like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't have anything. And God's like, no, I created you. I created you, who you are. I've given you the mind that you have. I've given you the body that you have. I've given you the heart that you have. I created you with the gifts that you have. Don't look down on that. Don't throw that to the side. Don't say that's nothing. That is valuable to me. That is important to me. Realize that today. That is important to God. You look at the boy had a lunch. John 6, 1 through 13, it says, sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, where shall we buy bread for these people to eat? He asked this only to test him, for he had already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, it would take more than a year or more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will that go among so many? Jesus said, have the people sit down. There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there, not including women and children. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. You think about that. He had a lunch, right? You ever have kids complain like, "Oh, I've got nothing. I don't have anything to eat." You know, there's nothing to eat in the house, and you're like, oh, "Let me show you, kid." You know, that those complaints can get old pretty quick, right? You know, but he had a lunch. You know, it's like, "Oh, well, God, here, God, if you want it, here's my Lunchable." You know, I mean, it's like, this is what I got, and God's like, "Watch what I'm gonna do," and then like multiplies it for all these people to eat. And it's like, do you believe in me? Do you see the miracles that I can do? You're so worried about the impossible. You're so worried about what you're up against. And I want you to believe, I want you to have faith that I am bigger than your obstacle, that I'm bigger than the circumstance you're facing, that I'm bigger than what's coming against you right now. I'm bigger than the enemy. I'm bigger than all the problems that you're facing. You need to take that step and trust me and have the faith to believe. What do you have? What do you have? And if you don't know what you have, ask somebody, you know. Ask God, say, "God, what is it that I have?" Ask a friend, ask a family member. Say, what are those gifts? What gifts do I have? Like, what do you see? Do you see anything? In 1 Peter 4:10, it says, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. God's given you gifts, not just for you to enjoy them and say, "Oh, that's awesome." You know, I'm sure all of us, like, you know, sometimes you look in the mirror and you enjoy, like, "Ooh, I look good. I like my hair, right, or whatever," you know, or I like how my hair used to be. Like, there's sometimes where the gifts that you were given weren't just for you. So it's not just for you to look in a mirror and say like, oh, I'm awesome. I can sing, or I can dance, or I can make money, or it's not, the gifts that you have are not just for you to admire and just think that's awesome. God's given them to you to be used for him, to serve others, to draw other people towards him. So the second point, the importance of one. The importance of one. In Luke 15, 1-7, it says, now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathered around to hear Jesus. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep. I tell you that in the same way, there'll be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. Jesus uses stories to connect and open minds to comprehend important concepts. This is a great illustration for the people because the people are familiar with sheep and seeing sheep and dealing with them. When we talk to people, it's important for us to connect in ways that are familiar with them. Jesus cares about the one. Jesus cares about the one. How much do we value the one? He doesn't consider losing one an acceptable loss. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we look at things and we're like, one it's acceptable loss. Like you when you're thinking about like the grand scheme of things, you're thinking about numbers. Sometimes we think in different ways. Sometimes our mindset looks at it differently. But that's not the way Jesus works. Jesus looks at the one and says, you are important. I'm not concerned with just having a large group. I'm not just concerned, I need a massive crowd of 100 people here that's what I need. Jesus is like, okay, I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to interact unless there's at least 100 people. That's not in the Bible. Jesus cares about the one. He cares desperately about the one. He seeks out the one. Action is being taken. The person makes the decision and goes after the one. He does not wait for the one sheep to find its way back. He doesn't say, hopefully another shepherd will find the sheep and take care of it. Jesus rejoices in the one that's being found. He's not angry with it, not yelling at the sheep and berating it, saying, why did you run off? No, he's excited and carries the sheep home. Jesus cares about the one. In Luke 7:36, it says, when one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. As she stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. When the Pharisees who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. Jesus answered him, Simon, I have something to tell you. Tell me, teacher, he said. 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii and the other 50. Neither of them had the money to pay him back. So he forgave the debts of both. Now which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven. You have judged correctly, Jesus said. Then he turned toward the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman from the time I entered has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little loves little. Then Jesus said to her, your sins are forgiven. And the other guests began to say among themselves, who is this who even forgives sins? Jesus said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. This story is awesome because she wasn't invited. She wasn't invited to this meal, to this party. She wasn't invited. She was a sinner. But again, Jesus used the story to make a point. He said, I suppose if one person knows this much, one person. So you know how stories can bring you in. Sometimes if you just like yell at someone directly, you get defensive right away, or you're like, But sometimes while you tell a story, it can bring people in and be like, oh yeah, you make a good point, And so he uses story. And it's interesting how in the same context, he kind of gives it to them. He's like, I came in here You didn't take care of my, I've been walking around. You didn't wash my feet. You didn't do anything. She did. I mean, I'm sure that would be an interesting situation. I mean, if imagine someone sitting and then some lady coming and like crying and washing feet with hair and all. I mean, in our mindset, that would seem pretty awkward to see that. We'd probably think the same thing. Like, okay, this is weird. Like, Jesus, do you know what's going on here? Like, but Jesus is like, no, you don't understand. And Jesus just calls them out. Says, quit it. I love this person. I care about this person. And this person's sin is forgiven today. Well, it's easy to look at other people and judge them and to say like, oh, they don't deserve your forgiveness, Jesus. And Jesus says, exactly. Neither do you. But I'm choosing to forgive them. I'm choosing to love them. He says they are important. She is important to me. He obviously there's a lot of people that he was teaching. There's a lot of people that wanted to hear from Jesus. This famed teacher that said things that people are like, how can he be so wise? Like I don't understand. And yet he took time. He took time for people that other people said, oh, they don't deserve your time. They're not worthy of that. And Jesus said, yes. They are worthy of my time because I care about the one. I care about the one. You think about the Samaritan woman. If you have never heard me here preach about the Samaritan woman, you haven't been here that much. Because it comes into a lot of my sermons. Like I'll talk about it forever because it's one of the most amazing stories when Jesus going from one town to another and takes time to stop at a well. It's like, okay, he's thirsty in the middle of the day, noon, and a lady comes by. Usually all the women draw the water in the morning, but she came in the middle of the day because she had a sullied reputation. Because it's like, okay, you've had 5 husbands. The person you're with now isn't your husband. And yet he had this encounter with her and spoke with her and shared with her about who he was. And she even said like, oh, well, the Messiah will come and will explain all this to us. And he's like, I'm the Messiah. He revealed to her that he was the Messiah. He took time for a Samaritan woman who was despised by the majority of the Jews. A woman with a solid reputation who people would be like, okay, that person has it, like there's no reason or no purpose for that person to know such amazing news, to know like the incredible news. It's like why would I give this treasure to this person? She doesn't deserve it. She's not even on the scale of someone that would deserve that. And Jesus says, you don't know my scales. My scales are not your scales. My ways are not your ways. I'm going to tell her. I'm going to free her. And she takes that news and tells everybody she knows, and the whole town, the Samaritans like, oh, please, Jesus, stay with us for a few days. And he did. He stayed with them so that many came to believe in him. Because his ways are different than our ways. He cares about the one. It's easy to think about the many, but Jesus cares about the one. This concept burned inside me. Each one of you is incredibly valuable. Incredibly valuable. Have you ever had someone talk to you and look at you as if you're the most important person in the world? Have you ever had that? I don't know if it was like sometime when, maybe it was a relationship or something like that where they look like you, or a parent, or, sometime, I don't know if you've ever felt that, where they just looked at you and you're like, wow, they really value me. This is incredible. Or have you felt that like they really cared about you, showed that you were important and valuable? Like the way that they talked to you, the way they talked about you? Have you ever felt that before? When I was in college, I took this missions trip to Urbana, Illinois. In college, I did a lot of interesting things. I used to go street witnessing on the weekends, where we'd get with a partner and tell people about Jesus. And then I took a trip to New Orleans where we did that, and Urbana where we did that, where we went around and talked to people about God. And I'm not good at talking to strangers. I'm not if you look at the gifting mix, that's not me. I'm not the sanguine, outgoing personality that can talk to anybody and have this awesome conversation when I don't know the person, have no context whatsoever. I love having deep conversation with people. I love getting to know people. But just randomly, that's typically not me. So a lot of times I was like, what am I doing? Why am I going on these trips and doing this, But I just wanted people to know Jesus, and I wanted to draw closer to him. And I was like, all right. And so I had some awesome conversations with people during that trip. And it was amazing. But I think about, we had services every day with that team. Like we're at least one or two services a day. And one of the services at night, they asked us during the prayer time, to get up as we were praying. They said, all right, now we just want you to shout out what you feel like, God is telling you, or God is calling you to, or, just shout out the reason, like the who you want to reach, or what is God specifically saying, and what does God want to do through your life in the future, and I don't know the exact wording, but I do know that what I shouted out is that God would use me to reach one person that they might know and follow Jesus, to reach one person. And I think about that because that value in my life has never changed. That's never changed. Whether I was on the other side of the world in Asia and trying to reach one person in the midst of millions and millions of people, saying, God, which one person do you have me here for that has never heard about you before, that's never had the opportunity to hear your voice, to know that you even exist? Or whether it's in a small town of Granite Falls that I didn't know existed most of my life. I believe in the one. Large groups of people are great and exciting. They are. To be in an event with hundreds or thousands of people, is awesome. Like, any of you that's been to like a football game or basketball game or some kind of event where there's a ton of people, and it's exciting. Like the energy in the room is fantastic, and it's a joy. But there's nothing that compares like being around one person who truly values you and loves you. I think all of us would rather be with one person. If we're with that one person and we're in a group, then we're like, okay, we got both, but I think we'd all rather say, I'd rather be with a person that values and loves me. There's people that are in large groups, that are in large events, that feel completely alone, that feel like nobody cares. But to have somebody that truly values, that truly loves you, that looks at you and says, you are worth it. If you are the only person that I get to talk to today, it's worth it. Like, we have covered some of these individuals in the Bible, but if you could look throughout the Bible, it constantly shows that that's who Jesus is. Jesus stopped for the woman that had the bleeding problem, touched his cloak and was healed, and Jesus stopped and said, who touched me? And everybody's like, what do you mean, who touched you? Everybody's touching you. It's like a mosh pit in here. And Jesus like, who touched me? And the woman's like, I did. So, and Jesus like, you're healed. But not only that, like, now you can live free. You're healed. Like, your freedom. You've been in this suffering for decades, and now you are free. He wanted to make a point, not just healing, silent, just go your way. No, this woman is valuable. I don't care that this crowd's saying, we need to get here, we need to do this. No, I'm focusing. Jesus constantly did that. You look at Zacchaeus in the tree. Jesus is walking and says, Zacchaeus is short, and so he's in a tree to see Jesus, and Jesus is like, Zacchaeus, come down from that tree. I want to go eat at your house. And Zacchaeus is like, what? You want to eat at my house? Really? It's like that star athlete or stinger or whatever looking at you from the stage or from when they're playing and be like, hey, you, can I come eat at your house afterwards? Like, what? Yeah, of course. But this is Jesus. It's like Jesus wanted to come and be with Zacchaeus. He said, you are worth it. You look at blind Bartimaeus. He was a beggar on the road. He was crying out, Jesus, and all the crowd around was like saying, quiet, shut up. Jesus is doing his work. He's teaching, he's moving, he's got things to do. And he wouldn't shut up. He just said, Jesus. He kept getting until he got his attention. And Jesus said, oh, bring him to me. So they brought him to Jesus, and Jesus said, what do you want me to do for you? I want to see. And Jesus healed him. Jesus cares about the one. He sees you. He hears your cries. He knows you. When you think that nobody cares, that's not true. Jesus cares. When you think that Jesus would rather be with someone else because they're cooler or they're better or whatever, that's a lie. He wants to be with you. He wants to say, hey, let's hang out. I want to be with you because you are worth it. Because I just want to hang out with you. I just want to be close to you. I think sometimes it's very, very easy for us to get distracted and to think that he doesn't care about the individual when he does. And I know I'm repeating the same thing over and over again, but sometimes we have to hear it over and over again to learn it. There are people that you will meet, there are people that you will see that Jesus cares deeply about. That sometimes it's easy to overlook. I don't know about you, but there's been times where I've been in cities of millions of people, and it's easy to look past a lot of people when you're walking past thousands of people in a day and to not notice. It's easy to get caught in in my own world and to say that the individuals don't matter as much. But I think if we ever get to the point where we stop seeing the importance of individuals, we have to check ourselves. We have to say, God, I think I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Help me to love again. Help me to have compassion again. Help me to care again about each individual, about each person. Help me to see with your eyes the way that you see. Because you love in a tremendous way. So I wonder if Christina, could you come and just maybe play that one of the last two songs, either one. And as she's praying, or as she's playing, we're gonna have just a short time of prayer. I believe that some of you here feel that way, that some of you came here today feeling like you didn't matter, or you didn't matter as much as the next person, as your neighbor, as your friend, as a family member. And I believe today that Jesus is wanting to tell you that you matter. And so I'm gonna pray, and after that, I want to invite you to come forward and to respond. Jesus is saying, I love you, I care about you, and so I just want you to come to the altar, just kneel down. Just come forward and find a place to sit or kneel, and just say, Jesus, I thank you for your love. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you that you care about me and that you love me. And I pray that you would put in me a heart that cares about the one as well. So let's pray. Jesus, I pray today that you would shower your love upon your people. Each person today here, that they might know your love in a tremendous way, that your love would overflow upon them, their entire body and mind and soul, like every part of them would experience your loving arms, that they would know the depth of your love for them, that you care about the one. Jesus, I pray as they respond, that they would just take the time just to dwell in your presence. And if they're to the next phase where you've talked with them and they've dwelt in that spot, I pray that you would put one person on their mind, on their heart, to show value to care about, to really invest in, so that person knows how valuable they are to you. Jesus, thank you for your love. Amen.